We thank you so much for this day, and we ask that you would guide us to an understanding of your truth. We ask that you would forgive us of our sins and help us to learn the things that we need to learn, that these would become a part of our experience, and that we could have an experimental knowledge of you and of your leading. Please guide us now and pour your Spirit out upon us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Last night, one of the things I pointed out is that the structure of three passages in the Scriptures, Daniel 11, 40 to 45, Revelation 13, 11 through, is it 16, the last verse? And Revelation 17. In fact, probably ought to go through just Revelation 13 and 14 and Revelation 17 and 18. That they all begin in 1798, and then they tell the story of the healing of the deadly wound. Then they emphasize the message of the hour, and then they mark the close of probation. Okay. But I'm saying that line upon line, that this is the story of the beast, this is the story of the false prophet, their role in each of these histories, and this is the story of the dragon. I know I left out prophet, but you already know all that. So these three lines come together, and this is an argument that I'm making in order to try to answer a question that I raised that you may not have thought about. So let's go to Revelation 17, verse 1. The argument you may not have thought about is, you want to read that verse, Michael? Yep.
And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters.
The argument that I raised that you may not have caught is that I'm contending that because this angel that introduces this vision to John is one of the seven last plagues, angels, is that this means that we have to connect these two chapters. That's not an argument. But the argument I put forth that you may not have caught is in Revelation 16, there's a lot of symbols. What justification do I have to say that the message that we are to derive out of chapter 16 and incorporate with chapter 17 is about the beast, the dragon, and the false prophet? Could be anything in here. But I'm saying that this angel that came from chapter 16 to tell John the vision, give John the vision of chapter 17, that the truth, the context that he is bringing into chapter 17 has to do with the fact that it is the beast, the dragon, and the false prophet that lead the world to Armageddon. So my first argument to support this claim that you may not have even noticed that I was making or thought about, that's kind of arbitrary if you don't have some justification for doing it, is that these three chapters are emphasizing the role of these three powers to lead the world, as Daniel says in verse 45, to Armageddon. But Daniel says that the king of the north comes to his end between the seas and the glorious holy mountain, which is Armageddon. So I'm arguing that this is a premier subject of prophecy, and that the Revelation 17 is one of those lines of prophecy. Revelation 17 is emphasizing the role of the dragon, and it's telling about the same story as Revelation 13 and Daniel 11. So you have the contextual justification for placing the emphasis in Revelation 16 upon the beast, the dragon, and the false prophet. So where we were ending last night is verse 19 of Revelation 16. We referenced it. You want to read that, Tabo?
Revelation 16, verse 19.
Yep.
And the great city.
Now, what's a great city? In the book of Revelation, if you just look up city, you're going to have probably 10, 12 proof texts that a city is a kingdom. Okay, so this great city is the kingdom of modern Babylon at the end of the world. Okay, go ahead.
And the great city was divided into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell. And great Babylon came in remembrance before God, to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath.
Okay, so modern Babylon, modern Rome at the end of the world is divided into 3 parts. What power gets divided? Rome. And we've been dealing with the fact that by the time you get to 538, Rome has been divided and there are 3 entities. There's the 7 European kings, and who do they typify? The false prophet. It's at 538, you got 7 European kings, Western Europe. You have the papacy. Who's he typify? The beast. And you have Eastern Rome, Imperial Rome. Who does that typify? The dragon. So in 538, from the very beginnings of the story of Rome, you see when you get to 538, you got the beast, the dragon, and the false prophet. In 538 is when the papacy takes control of the world. In that history, when does the papacy take control of the world, and when does the threefold union come together at the end of the world? At the Sunday law. And are you going to have all 3 of those entities there? Yeah. It's always about the beast, dragon, and the false prophet at one level. Okay, so this is telling us, verse 19, that the beast, the dragon, and the false, or that modern Rome is divided into 3 parts. Now let's back up and read verses 12 through 16. Ariane, you want to start?
Revelation
16, 12 through 16.
Right. And the 6th angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared.
Okay, what's that verse based upon? What typification, Brother Aryan?
Fall of Babylon.
The fall of Babylon. Who's the kings of the east?
Cyrus.
That's a king. This says kings in the plural. At Belshazzar, who were the kings that were there?
Media and Persia.
Medes and Persians, Cyrus and Darius are there, okay. And they dry up the Euphrates. This is the fall of Babylon in the story of Belshazzar, but it's talking about the fall of Babylon, the final punishment of Babylon at the end of the world. Next verse, my brother.
And I saw,
Kola.
oh, sorry.
And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet.
Okay, so you got the threefold union right there, and what happens with them? In that verse, my brother, Kola.
The spirits come out of their mouth.
Okay, so the spirits, whatever they are, they come out of their mouth. It's speaking. What's it speaking? Okay, so there's an activity being marked here about some kind of legal enactments that comes out of the mouth of these 3 entities, and whatever the legal enactment is, it's got a spiritual connotation. Next verse.
For they are the spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty.
So, do you see? Tell me at this point, Sister Tiffany, in the verse you read and the verse Kola read, how many participants are there? Not how many types of participants are there? That's a better way to ask.
The whole earth?
You're
Threefold
not
union.
Tiffany. Pardon me? Threefold union. Okay, you got the
Union.
beast, dragon, and the false prophet. That's one distinct entity.
Battling against the whole world.
No.
No?
Well, yeah, but that's not what I'm looking for. Someone want to help her?
The earth and the world.
The earth and the world. Okay, that's not helping her. You have the beast, the dragon, and the false prophet, right? Then you got spirits that come out of their mouth, right? And where do those spirits go? To the kings of the earth. You've got the threefold union. You've got spirits coming out of their mouths that are going to the kings of the earth. And the kings of the earth are going to do what? They're going to get gathered to the same place that Josiah got gathered to. Right?
But it's the kings of the earth and of the whole world.
Yeah, but I want you to see, I'm not denying that the whole world's out. I want you to see the distinction that's being made between the beast, the dragon, and the false prophet. This legislative, this spiritual legislation that goes forth that's represented by the spirits that goes to the kings, and then the kings are the active agents to carry the world to Armageddon, right? You see that flow of events? Yeah, the people are going to do what they're going to follow where their leaders lead them. But I'm not denying that the whole world is there. Verse 15, Sister Allison.
Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watches and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked, and they see his shame.
Sister White says in a lot of ways, the final movements will be rapid ones. These events will come suddenly and unexpectedly. And I contend that this warning is a warning that we must understand in advance of these events in order to be prepared to rightly address them. Okay, so there's a warning in here in a time period that historically probation's closed, but this warning is supposed to be understood long before Christ comes as a thief in the night. When does Christ come as a thief in the night? When does that take place? Sunday law. You got to understand this before the Sunday law. Next verse.
Well, many will understand it at the midnight cry time period.
Midnight cry is the Sunday law. The midnight cry is the Sunday law. Midnight cry is typifying the loud cry. So yeah, the priests better understand this before the midnight cry. Whatever message this is teaching to us, it's got to be understood before the door closes in whatever category we find ourselves. Verse 16.
And he gathered them together into the place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon.
Okay, what is that word derived from, Brother Henry? Armageddon. 2 words. What are the 2 words?
Megiddo.
Megiddo. And what is Megiddo? Where is Megiddo? How is Megiddo located geographically? If you're going to describe the geography of Megiddo, what is it? No. I said Megiddo. It's a valley, it's a plain. Okay, is there any mountains in Megiddo? No. Okay, so what's Arm? Har. It's a mountain. So what does that tell you about this word Armageddon?
Mountain of Megiddo.
And what does it tell you? Yes, Sister Tanya.
It's a spiritual word.
It can't be literal because the literal Megiddo has no mountain. The fact that this is a mountain that's associated with Megiddo tells you that this has to be a spiritual war, a spiritual illustration. And this has been an issue in Adventism off and on. This is the argument between James White and Uriah Smith. Uriah Smith was looking for a literal fulfillment of this, and James White was saying, no, this is spiritual. It can't be literal because there isn't any mountain in Megiddo. John is telling us you have to relate to this spiritually. Okay, so I'm saying that when this angel comes in verse 1 in Revelation 17, and he's one of these angels that poured out the 7 last plagues, that it sets the context for understanding Revelation 17 in terms of being a story that contributes to our warning that we must understand about the role of the beast, the dragon, and the false prophet leading the world to the close of human probation and the executive judgment of God. Okay, that's the logic that I think you have to factor into verse 1 of Revelation 17. Sister Tamina, you want to do verse 2? Read verse 1 and 2 to get us back in the flow of these verses. Of Revelation 17, verse 1 and 2.
And there came one of the 7 angels, which had 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will shew thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
Okay, let's go to your notes. We're not going to spend a lot of time as we walk down through this on some of these verses. They're pretty well known. On page 1, Sister White tells us the woman that is under discussion here is the papacy. In that first quote from Great Controversy 382, you read it, you'll see she's defining that woman as the papal church. But she's going to commit fornication with all the kings of the earth. So what is her wine? Jonathan, you want to read that first quote on Babylon's wine?
The fallen denominational churches are Babylon. Babylon has been fostering poisonous doctrines of wine of error, the wine of error. This wine of error is made up of false doctrines.
So there's true wine and false wine because there's two doctrines, right? What are some other symbols for doctrine in the scriptures? Rain? Okay. What? Bread? Others? Pardon me? Manna? Okay, so let's what was the first one? Rain. What's some other symbols for rain? The Holy Spirit. What's another symbol for the Holy Spirit? Fire. There's who I wanted to get to. Fire. All right, so a false wine or false fire are interchangeable terms. Yes? So this wine is deceiving the whole world. Yes? Okay, so how is it that this army in Rome destroys the whole world?
Well, that
Yeah, but that's not the answer. Fire.
By fire, but I was just reading out of the spiritual gifts, and Satan thought of all kinds of different ideas how he could deceive Adam and Eve, and he realized it was through deception that he's going to give.
Okay. I just wanted to tie in the fact that this wine that deceives the whole world can be understood as fire, because the Roman army in Joel is going to destroy the world with the fire that goes before it, and the fire that goes before it is the false doctrines of Rome. But I won't spend any more time there. I just wanted to make that brief connection. Sister Sarah, did you read? Next quote.
Sin charged against Babylon is that she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. This cup of intoxication, which she presents to the world, represents the false doctrines that she has accepted as the result of her unlawful connection with the great ones of the earth.
Okay, what is the unlawful connection that is the subject of Bible prophecy? Image of the beast. What's the image of the beast?
Church and state.
Combination of church and state. How is that expressed in Daniel 8:12? By reason of transgression. Okay? Yes? You realize that in the book of Daniel that the papacy is symbolically represented as a desolating power, but it is represented as a desolating power by Daniel in 2 different ways. Yes? You know this? Students, not staff. What are the two ways that the papacy is symbolically represented by Daniel in the book of Revelation as a desolating power? Do you know it, but you can't remember? No, a nice guess. It's half right. Okay, yes. Now you put you guys together, you got it figured out. Sometimes the papacy is the abomination that maketh desolate, and the other time it's the transgression of desolation. Right? Are you all aware of that? No? Yes? Do we have to show you? No? What's the difference? We just defined the transgression as church and state. Combination of church and state, and Sister Tamina said it was what? The image of the beast. The image of the beast. That the symbol, the image of the beast, the combination of church and state, is represented by Daniel as the transgression of desolation. But in other places, he represents the same power as the abomination that maketh desolate. What's the difference between the abomination and the transgression? Well, the transgression is the image of the beast. So what's the abomination? The mark of the beast. Yeah, the mark of Rome's authority. Daniel is describing the distinction between the mark of the beast and the image of the beast. So what is the distinction between the mark of the beast and the image of the beast?
The transgression of desolation comes first.
Yeah, the image of the beast comes first. It's a combination of church and state. But what is the mark of the beast?
It's the action. It's the
Enforcement of Sunday. It's the mark of Rome's authority.
One of you have the unlawful marriage, and the other one is the result of that unlawful marriage.
You have the unlawful marriage. How is a marriage consummated? Through the relationship. And the relationship produces what? Children. And that's why Sister White calls Sunday the child of the papacy. From her unlawful connection with the kings of the earth, through the image of the beast, through the transgression of desolation, it's going to produce the child of the papacy, which is the Sunday law. Is everyone following that logic? It's not really germane to what we're doing, but it's worth having in your head. Okay, let's move forward in Revelation 17:3. Sister Brittany, did you already read?
So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Okay, so who's the woman? First quote on the page. It's a real simple one. The first quote, the woman of Revelation 17 is, and she describes her in the last sentence, the power that for so many centuries maintained despotic sway over the monarchs of Christendom is Rome. So when John is carried away to the wilderness, he sees this woman riding a beast, and we know right off the bat the woman is the papal power. Yes? Okay, so because he's carried to the wilderness, we dealt with that. He's carried to, up there in the top right-hand corner, to the history of 538 to 1798, because Revelation 12 and verse 16 and 14 defines the wilderness as the 1260 years. But we do not yet know at what place in the wilderness he is placed, whether he's placed in the 6th century or in 1798. We're going to try to demonstrate that it's 1798 by the next verses. Who's next? Sister Tanya, will you read verses 4 through 6 of 17? Revelation 17, verses 4 through 6.
And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her head was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration.
Okay, you just go into 5, that'll work. Yeah.
It's full of abominations, and we just define the abomination as the Sunday law. So does it mean that it's full of, it's multiple laws, many laws, there's many abominations in the covenant? Is that speaking to, or have you ever thought of it?
I don't know. I think it's speaking more to all the false doctrines, not just Sunday. But I don't know. I never thought about that.
What was the question? I didn't hear.
Is the abominations and filthiness of her fornication the result of the fornication, the abominations? I was just saying that those abominations
are in the plural. He's dealing with the plurality of it and asking if those abominations, if the abomination of desolation is the Sunday law, is that marking a sequence of Sunday laws? Because it's abominations in the plural, right?
Yeah.
But I think,
It's all
maybe not, but I think it's all the false doctrines, which are all an abomination. The fact that the Pope claims to be Christ on earth, that's an abomination.
But the Sunday law makes it certainly full.
Yes, that's what fills it up. Right? Okay, so it's these passages that give you at least two clues on why this is 1798. One is that the question I ask at this point in the study is, do you get drunk before you drink or after you drink?
After you drink.
After, okay. So she's already drunk. And we'll read two quotes from the Great Controversy about when the persecution ceased, because it was during the persecution that she was drinking the blood that made her drunk. And I'm contending that her drunkenness is manifested after she drinks the blood. Sister Kathy from Great Controversy 306, he thus mentions.
He thus mentioned certain events to precede his coming, and fixed the time when the first of these should be witnessed. In those days, after that tribulation, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light. The 1260 days or years terminated in 1798. A quarter of a century earlier, persecution had almost wholly ceased. Following this persecution, according to the words of Christ, the sun was to be darkened on the 19th of May, 1780. This prophecy was fulfilled.
Next one, Brother Gabriel.
The persecution of the church did not continue throughout the entire period of the
Okay, that's good. There's two witnesses. We understand this. You know, for years, it never happened. But what she's saying here, right, is that 25 years, and this is Christ's sermon. He says, except those days be shortened. Okay, so he's speaking directly about it. Sister White's commenting on it in the Great Controversy. And for the years that I used to teach this, I teach it, and I'm placing John in 1798, and I just waited for someone in the audience to say, well, hey, why can't you put it back in, what would that be, 1793 or 1773. You know, you got 25 years here where the persecution ceased, and you're saying it's because the persecution is what produced the blood that she drank that makes her drunk. You're being a little bit arbitrary to say 1798. Because I was prepared to answer with the fact that I got two witnesses here and here, that these other two lines of prophecy that line up with this line of prophecy begin in 1798. But what do we know now about this history here? It's a binding off period. It's a point in a period. So we have an argument now that says 1798. Okay, it's 1798 where he's placed, because this is where the persecution ceases and where he's drunk. She's drunk, right? What else do we have there?
I was looking at this 1780. Isn't that like 18 years from 1798? Doesn't that 18 represent the raising up of a prophet? Could that be something?
The 18 represents the raising up of a prophet.
It Deuteronomy 18.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to wonder what prophet was raised up in 1780. When was William Miller born?
He must be 72.
I don't know. You'll have to study that one out and give us your findings. We got to know, though, right, that every time we see an 18, it doesn't mean there's a prophet raised up. Okay, so we know that going into your studies, you'll have that in the back of your mind. But anyway, she's here and she's drunk. What else is she, according to the description here? She's a mother. What does that mean? She's the mother of harlots. She has children, but daughters. Okay, but who are they? Who are her daughters? The Protestant churches aren't her daughters because they've separated from Rome and they're protesting them. They're a separate church. They're the ones that have already come back. From the time of the Reformation, there was already churches that had returned to Rome. She was a mother of harlots. Okay, at this point in time. So that's the argument of placing John in 1798 based upon the wilderness. He's at the very end of the wilderness. She's drunk. She already has daughters.
Do you know which churches already returned?
No.
In that time?
No, I'm not as familiar with European history as you are. Why don't you dig that out and bring it back to the class tomorrow morning for us?
Thank you, John.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone know to help him along the way if there was, how many there were at that point that had already returned?
What constitutes returning? Yeah.
What's the Lutherans
that have, they stopped their, the Protestant Reformation is a coming out of Rome, all right? So if they stop their progression away from Rome, all right, if another reformer is raised up that has a new piece of light and they reject it and hold to the place in the Reformation that they had gotten to and reject the advancing light, they have become a daughter. That's what happened to the Protestants in the Millerite history. Before 1844, the Millerites were already being confronted with, what's his name? The brother that introduced the teachings on the state of the dead. Storrs. They'd already been confronted with Storrs' clarification about the state of the dead and the immortality of the soul, which is one of the two doctrines by which the papacy takes the world captive. Okay, so this was a revelation of truth that if you were following the advancing light of the Protestant Reformation, you would have to accept that. So when they're rejecting that, they are in that same time period becoming the daughters of Rome. They're rejecting not only the first angel's message, but that was one of the key doctrines that they'd rejected.
In Sutherland's book on Christian education, he identifies that they also rejected true education and the health message in the early 1800s. The universities that were Protestant ceased to be Protestant right in that same time period because they progressively have rejected this light of the health message of true education. So most of them.
So what I'm getting at is that the definition of a daughter is based not necessarily that they come back into some kind of legal contract with the Roman Church, but they do not keep up with the advancing light that they are required. We're going to be judged not only by the light that we have, but the light that we could have had if we would have availed ourselves of the opportunity to accept it. So there were already churches in this history that had ceased to keep up with the advancing light. And that's what the Millerite history was at one level. It was the climax of the Protestant Reformation. Okay, so verse 6. Who's next? Marco? We read verse 6? I thought... No, I don't think she did, but read it again anyway. Maybe she did. I'll be proved wrong by the recording.
And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration.
I'm sorry. This is why I'm wrong. This part of this has fallen off. I wanted you to read verse 7, but all of that side. I stand corrected. She did read verse 6. Verse 7. That's why I said you only went to verse 5 after you read. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Read verse 7 for us, sorry.
And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, and of the beast that carrieth her, which has the 7 heads and 10 horns.
Okay, the angel from Revelation 16 is going to tell John a mystery about the beast and the woman. But first off, what's a mystery? For us, a mystery is a movie or a book or a TV show that has an ending that you can't figure out till the final moment. And then at the final moment in the chapter in the book or the final scene in the movie, all these mysterious things come together and you have this satisfaction. It's all resolved. Now you understand it all, right? That's a mystery movie. That's not a mystery in the Bible. What's a mystery in the Bible, Brother Jonathan? It's a different word, different meaning.
Wondering?
Wondering, nope. Anyone have an answer for that?
Confusion. A riddle?
Confusion.
Hidden.
Hidden. Hidden's closer.
Is it a riddle?
A riddle. Perhaps, that's part of it. Okay, the definition that I'm going to put in place is that a mystery in the Bible is a subject that is impossible to understand. But everything that is revealed about that subject, you are required to understand. Okay? You are required to understand what the mystery of iniquity is, because if you don't understand what the mystery of iniquity is, it's going to take you captive and you're going to be lost for eternity. Everything that is revealed about the mystery of iniquity, you must understand. But iniquity, we've been told, we can never understand how iniquity got introduced. It's impossible to explain the introduction of sin into a perfect creation. Okay? Or how to explain it now. So there's components of iniquity that we could never understand, but we are required to understand everything that is revealed about it. That's the mystery of iniquity in the Bible. What is the mystery of godliness?
Divinity and humanity.
Divinity and humanity combined. Christ in us, the hope of glory. Do we have to require everything or understand everything that is told us about this combination of humanity and divinity? Yes, we have to understand what is revealed, because this is the experience that we are to attain to. Can any of us in this room explain the incarnation? It's beyond our understanding. The mystery of godliness has aspects to it that human beings cannot understand, but everything that is revealed about it must be understood. That's a mystery in the Bible. So this angel is telling John about the mystery of the woman and the beast that she's riding upon. Are there going to be some aspects of this that perhaps we cannot understand? But everything that's revealed, we are required to understand. Yes? Okay, that's the emphasis of mystery that I want to put in place. You can see the quotes there of Colossians and Thessalonians about the mystery of godliness and the mystery of sin. But the beast that carries her is part of that mystery, and that is verse 7. Sister Solange, you want to read verse 7? Did you read verse 7? Verse 8. Verse 8.
The deed that thou sayest was and is not, and shall ascend out the bottomless pit, and go into perdition, and they that the devil dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is.
Thank you. What is this? They're the four beasts. Okay, this is the beast of Daniel 7. There's lots of things, the characteristics of the beast of Daniel 7 that we can put into this box, which is the beast. But the one that I want to put in this box right now is the beast of Daniel 7 is who? Rome. In its it's both. It's pagan and papal. That's why I was going to say in its most general sense.
And
Okay.
it's the 10 kings. It's all of Rome till the end of the world.
That's why I said there's several characteristics we can put in this box, but the one I'm looking for is who this beast is. Who is this beast, Brother Tyler? Rome. Okay, the beast of Revelation 12. Sister White tells us who that beast is. And the Bible tells us who that beast is. But Sister White comments on it. The beast of Revelation 12 is the dragon, it's Satan, but who does Sister White tell us it is in a secondary sense? Pagan Rome. And the leopard-like beast of Revelation 13 is who? Papal Rome. So without even looking at the characteristics of verse 8, based upon 3 witnesses, what do we already know about this beast? It's Rome. Okay, modern Rome. Everyone follow that logic? Okay, we didn't address all the characteristics in each of these beasts, but we just want to start from the point of reference that this beast is Rome. So, let's go through the characteristics. And verse 8, the beast that thou sawest was and is not and shall ascend. What's the power that does that is Rome? What Roman power? We've got 4 manifestations of Roman power, so to speak. You've got Rome in both aspects. You've got pagan Rome all by itself. You've got papal Rome all by itself. And you've got modern Rome. This beast was and is and shall ascend. Is not. Was and is not. Okay. Papal. Where would you go to show that? Where's the easiest way to go show that for me? And there's probably lots of places. Revelation 13. What are you going to show in Revelation 13? The healing of they had a head that was wounded, but the deadly wound was healed. Okay, that is good, but there's a better chapter for this. Pardon me?
Just by virtue of John's location.
Daniel 11, 4,
Between, in 1798, we're seeing a place in 1798. In 1798, the papacy was. In 1798, it is not, following the infliction of the deadly wound. What shall arise again? So, I know I'd look at, the very context that Revelation 17 is setting up itself. Does that make sense?
Yep, I think we all understand it, but I'm trying to point us to one chapter in God's Word that really nails this. Okay? Yeah, and you all know it. Think outside the box. Think outside the box. Okay. What about Isaiah 23? Tyre is forgotten. Let's see, so Tyre's here, but she's forgotten. I mean, is it Ian? when it says this, if we're identifying this beast as Rome, and we are, and it says is not, was the papacy really not in existence during this history? She was there. Okay. The deadly wound is simply identifying that her political support has been cut off, but she continues as a church throughout this history as a woman. She's really there. She's just forgotten. And in Isaiah 23, at the end of the 70 years, which is what? Days of one kingdom. And what's the kingdom? The USA. What happens to her at the end of the 70 years? She's remembered. Why is that important? The remembering is at the Sunday law. Okay, so I'm saying that for me anymore, and when I first used to teach Revelation 17, I had no clue about the significance of Isaiah 23 for myself, but Isaiah 23 really nails this down. She was, Tyre was, then she's forgotten, but she gets remembered. She was, is not, and shall ascend. Does she ascend at this point? Okay, so this is a characteristic that you can plug in. You may be able to plug this characteristic into other powers. I don't know that you can, but I won't argue that you can't. But you're restricted on who you're going to apply this to. What do I mean by you're restricted?
Where he's standing, where John is.
Where's John standing? But that's not the restriction I'm looking for. But yeah, it's got to be a Roman beast. Okay, because this beast is Rome. So it's got to be some manifestation of Rome that has the characteristics of being in existence at one time, then forgotten, and then coming back to life. So the first characteristic in the verse qualifies to be modern Rome. And the next characteristic in the verse was that this beast goes into perdition. What power is associated with perdition? Who goes into perdition? Go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. I know that all of you have went through the study on Revelation 17 before, but it must not be fresh in your memory because you're not coming out with the answers real quick. So this is it's good. Yeah, I'm talking to the students, all right, not to the staff. In 2 Thessalonians, Sister Tiffany, tell me the significance of 2 Thessalonians.
That is what William Miller was brought to understand the daily.
Yeah, the very important significance of that chapter. What is it about?
It's about when the papacy is revealed.
Okay, correct. I would say it's about the transition from pagan Rome to papal Rome. What two churches are in this chapter? Pergamos and Thyatira. The Canadian comes to help the Canadian girl. That's all right. A lot of stuff in this chapter, but in verse 3, when Paul is describing the papal power, whose turn to read? Chris?
I believe so.
2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3.
It says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that's man of sin."
Who's the man of sin, Brother Chris?
At that time, pagan Rome?
No. The man of sin is the papacy, okay? The man of sin, classic symbol of the papacy. Finish reading the verse, you got interrupted.
Sin be revealed. The son of perdition.
Okay, so the papacy is the son of perdition. Who else is the son of perdition? Judas. Okay, so anyway, perdition is associated with the papacy. This beast is going to go into perdition, and what's the next expression in there of verse 8? So what I'm saying is that modern Rome has the characteristics of being the beast that was and is not and shall ascend. it also has the characteristics of going into perdition. Perdition. What's the next phrase there? The whole world wonders after the beast. Is that the next phrase? So, what's that all about? It's about the Sunday law, but I mean, where do you identify in the scriptures what that represents? Revelation 13. What? Let's go to Revelation 13. Brother Arian's going to tell us why the characteristic of the whole world wondering after this beast is associated, or is a characteristic of the papal power. He's going to do it from Revelation 13, which John also wrote, just like he wrote Revelation 17, so John's not going to be in disagreement with himself. So show us why a characteristic of the papacy is that the whole world wonders after them.
Verse 3? Or maybe 1 to 3?
Just do verse 3.
Oh, and I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast.
And what did Revelation 17:8 say? All those wondered after him whose names are not written in the book of life. Something like that. So if you're still in Revelation 13, read verse 8 as well.
And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world.
So the beast that the world wonders after, if their names aren't written in the book of life, is what beast? Papacy. Okay, so this is the papal beast. I'm going to put wonder here for that characteristic. What's the next characteristic? In Revelation 17:8. When they beheld the beast, they wonder, but you notice that the beginning of this verse and the end of this verse are the same, but they're different. That's what I'm getting at.
I have a question. We just marked actually that when you wander after the beast, you either worship it or that you're not in the book of life. But we see in Revelation 17 verse 6 that John is wondering with great admiration to the beast. Like, how can we fix that? Because he is written in the book of life. Do you understand my struggle here?
I didn't understand the first part of your comment.
Like, we marked that those who wander after the beast either worship it, Revelation 13, or they're not written in the book of life, Revelation 17. But John is wandering at the beast too.
Yeah, I never understood that meant that only the wicked wander after him. The whole world follows the movements of the papacy, but this subject is going to produce two classes of worshipers. Brother Tyler.
Could this be showing, but doesn't the angel say to him, wonder not, or marvel not at the beast? Could this be showing that the deception, the great deception that even the very elect could be deceived if it were possible, but they don't because of the instruction by the angel, at least in this, it's representing that even that group of people might even wonder if it were possible.
In order for you to give someone a warning about the role of Rome, and that's your responsibility as a messenger, you are going to have to demonstrate to them the activities of the beast, the dragon, and the false prophet as they lead the world to Armageddon. You're going to have to show their movements, and they're going to have to consider them. The wondering of those that aren't written in the Lamb's Book of Life is probably talking about a wondering in their hearts where they get drawn under the influence. I've not ever worried about running that down, but
I think it makes the distinction just in the grammar.
Louder.
Oh, I think it makes the distinction just in the grammar when it talks about them wondering after the beast in verse 3 of chapter 13, and those who wonder, that's the same thing. So those who are wondering after the beast is different than those who wondered with great admiration. It's not admiration like, whoa, we really admire the papacy. It's like John's puzzled, like, whoa, what is this power?
So you're saying that God's people are going to follow the Lamb whithersoever he goes, but these are going to wander after the
After they're gonna
papacy.
follow, rather than just be shocked, because we're going to see the events and be like, whoa. We're going to wonder in great admiration in that sense, but we're not going to follow after the papacy.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, makes sense. Sister to me too, Gabriel. Brother Gabriel, not sister.
I still think that the wondering is not a good thing, because the angel sort of rebukes him in verse 7, right?
That's absolutely
He asks him, wherefore didst thou marvel? And in order for him not to marvel, he explains it. Right? I would tell thee the mystery of the woman. Otherwise it wouldn't be necessary, the danger.
I think you got to marvel after it. Yeah. It's a mystery. John is us, okay? You have to look at the beast and this woman that's riding upon her. What's the problem? What is the problem? This is the problem that Brother John. All right, Arian. And when I say it, sometimes I remember my first blow it on his name because it was Arian, and the Eon throws me. I don't want to be calling him an Arian. All right, Arian. But the first question he brought up when I was up front here, once this school started, was about how the 7 heads in Revelation 13 could represent past history when one of the heads was the papacy that had the deadly wound that was healed. So him and I went through a discussion to show that how these characteristics can have more than one meaning that you can pull out by context. So I think we're dealing with that too, but you have to deal with this dichotomy. You have to wonder about it. And what is the dichotomy that is in this mystery? It's the same dichotomy. Do you know what it is? Does anyone know what it is besides you? The same problem. I get that's what I mean by dichotomy. Maybe I'm not using the right word. There's a problem here. The problem that he and I had was I was claiming that the 7 heads on the beast in Revelation 13 represented a point in history that John was looking back and seeing. And he was saying, but in verse 3, one of those heads has a deadly wound that gets healed. Therefore, one of those 7 heads, being the papal power, defines those 7 heads as the 7 kingdoms of Bible prophecy. But I'm saying that it was the 7 nations of Western Europe when John looks back in history. So I'm saying, I explained to him that those 7 heads is both the 7 kingdoms of Bible prophecy, and it is also marking the point in history where Western Rome has had 3 horns plucked up. I was saying the symbol had 2 different applications. The problem, if you haven't thought about it, with the woman riding on the beast, who is the woman? Who is the woman more specifically? It's the papal church. Who is the beast? The papacy. The woman is riding upon herself. Do you see the problem there? It's a mystery.
Is the beast the dragon?
Okay, the beast is just been defined in this verse as the power that was and is not and shall ascend. And who is that power in Isaiah 23? It's Tyre, it's the woman, a church that here goes out and makes sweet music for all the kings of the earth and commits fornication with them. So that expression of the beast is the papacy. The papacy is the man of sin, which is son of perdition. This beast is going into perdition. That's the papacy. In Revelation 13, the whole world is wondering after the papacy. So another characteristic of this beast is papacy. All the characteristics are papacy. So the beast is modern Rome, the papacy, but it's being guided by the woman that is the papacy. And if you don't see that dichotomy, if I'm saying it right, you have to wonder after it. You have to think this one through because it's a mystery. He was first.
But now when we're taking a look at the beast, though, wouldn't that be actually the nation? So wouldn't that be like the USA? You know, so that the woman is riding upon USA?
Is that part of the story? What's your justification for raising that obscure thought?
When we take always a look at the beast, if we take a look at Daniel 2, we see every single time a beast is a representation of a nation.
Okay, so you're saying that in Daniel 7, the beasts are the political power, but the same kingdoms of Bible prophecy in Daniel 8 are the religious power. And I'm saying that in 1798, I've always said the papacy ceased to be a beast of Bible prophecy, and it continued to be a woman of Bible prophecy. That's what the healing of the deadly wound is. When her political power is removed here, she ceases to be a beast, technically. But as she's forgotten, she continues to be a woman of Bible prophecy. So in this mystery, you have a woman riding a beast, and as you get down to the riddle about 5 have fallen, 1 is, 1 is yet to come, and the 8th is of the 7, you're going to find that the story of Revelation 17 is how the political structure that the papacy needs to rule the world is restored to her, that the deadly wound is healed, and it solves the mystery. The beast is talking about the complete political, religious structure that the papacy operates at the end of the world. The woman is emphasizing that it's her moral authority that is directing this political structure. And it's all about the healing of the deadly wound, because that's what the story is in each of these chapters, how the wound is healed.
But
So
it is done in the United States.
it starts in the United States. Okay, Michael and Brittany.
Oh.
So yes, I agree with your question. That's the mystery. That's at least one component of the mystery.
It's interesting that this word appears 46 times in the New Testament. That's right.
What word?
Wonder.
Wonder.
When you trace that word wonder to its root, it means to look closely at or to perceive. So both parties, both those who wonder after and those who are stunned by the things that are taking place, both of them are looking closely at or perceiving the events and the dynamics of the situation, but not both of them are wondering after. I think that that's an important distinction, and it can be upheld just by tracing that word to its root.
Sister Brittany, Brother Tyler. That makes 3 staff in a row.
Is the woman always riding the beast, or is there a certain
Oh no! Now you're getting even into a broader.
Oh, I don't know that.
No, I'm at one point I touched on something here. I threw it in the mix because I knew I was heading to Revelation 17, and if you had never thought about this before, I wouldn't expect you to retain that obscure comment that I made in your memory bank. But the fact that there is a progression in Daniel 2 from the wealth, or the from gold to silver, how do you say that? Value of the metals as they go down, and also a progression in the strength of the metal as they go down. And then you add Sister White's comments on it, it's also marking a deterioration of moral, moral what? Strength, no. Morality decreases as you go down through this history, according to Sister White. There is a progression here, okay? And when we were dealing with that, I pointed out that in Daniel 8 there is a progression that you follow through the word Gadol, which is translated in Daniel 8 as great. And this power is great, this power is greater, and this power is even greater than that. Okay, there's a progression of self-exaltation in these kingdoms as it goes down through history. And I pointed out at that point in time, and this is the part you may not remember, if you do not see this progression in these kingdoms down through history, you can't understand what is being conveyed, that this woman is riding this beast. So to keep it simple, because we're not there, the story of Mystery Babylon, this woman, is that she becomes the spiritual guiding influence of Babylon, and when Babylon falls, she moves to this kingdom. She moves to this kingdom. She moves to every kingdom down through history. The classic example of that is that the United States begins as a lamb and ends up speaking as a dragon, and one of the stories of the United States is how the doctrines of Rome capture the United States. So when you get to the Sunday law, she has climbed upon fully the head of the United States. Okay, she goes from head to head down here, and that's what Revelation 17 is talking about. In each of these kingdoms, she's going to control one, and then she's going to get off and get on the next, and she's going to get off and get on the next. That's why we had a discussion here about these kingdoms, that it's okay to call all of these kingdoms pagan. Okay, it is. That's Daniel chapter 8. The vision concerning the daily. Okay, the vision is about the daily and the transgression of desolation. So at one level, all the religion of every one of these kingdoms is the same religion. It's the religion of Mystery Babylon. Every one of these kingdoms gets conquered by that religion. And in Revelation 17, this progression of this religion is illustrated by this woman getting off one head and getting onto the next. And in this history here is where she's getting up on the final kingdom's head to control it, to reign it. Brother Tyler.
I think I agree with Gabriel that he's being rebuked because he's wondering with great admiration, and then the next thing that's said is, why are you doing this?
I like, you didn't hear me protesting that, but I'm telling you for sure, you have to wrap your mind around who the beast and the woman is. You have to consider it.
I don't think it's necessarily, and I might be wrong, I don't think it's necessarily right to say that wondering is to follow the steps of the papacy, because following the steps of the papacy lets you know who the papacy is, and if you're following the papacy like that, you're going to know that it's Antichrist. And if the whole world is wondering at it, the whole world would not see it as Antichrist. They would see it as wondering. To me, seems like you're captivated. It's like a mesmerism kind of thing that's being portrayed.
I think you're reading your own ideas into that one.
Ezekiel, when he saw the wheels, wondered with great admiration. Whoa, what is this? It's the exact same thing that's happening.
And one of the wills that he's seeing is the external, and what establishes the external wills is Rome.
And the angel says, don't be confused, let me explain.
But it's a captivation, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but we're getting to a level that's outside the scope of basically laying down these kingdoms in Revelation 17. Staff.
Well, if he's being rebuked, I don't think that makes any sense why he would go into this for 7 verses explaining the mystery of the woman.
Don't look at her, but I'm going to tell you a whole bunch of details about her.
About it, so it doesn't make sense to me that
if you look at the word in the definition for that word, eventually as it goes down, because you're trying to find the root of it, it gets to this part that says to gaze with wide open eyes as something remarkable, and that's different from another word which denotes simply voluntary observation, and from 1492 which expresses merely mechanical, passive, or casual vision.
Guest. Staff, guest, staff. Do the students have anything to contribute or question? Student. He just overruled you because he's a student.
I'm just wondering, someone was, you know when the papacy started to reign, yeah? In Rome, I'm assuming the papacy was given some kind of civil authority when the papacy was put onto the seat of Rome in 330 AD. I'm saying that to say, in 1929,
when was the civil authority given to the papacy? You're making an assumption about 330 when prophecy marks perfectly when the civil authority was given to the papacy.
Oh, okay.
When was it?
Well, technically it was 538.
Let's be technical. It was given the civil authority in 533.
Okay, yeah. So it was 533.
Okay, so let's talk about the Lateran Treaty. Is that where you're going?
I'm just talking about when the papacy was given back its
civil authority.
Its statehood.
In 1929.
Yeah.
At the Lateran Treaty.
Yeah.
Okay, so that argument is, do you understand? Everyone understand that argument? Here's the basic argument in Adventism, is that they went and expressed it like I did. I see your hand. But in 1798, the papacy ceased to be a beast, a geopolitical power that had a civil structure to control. But it continued to be a woman. So people will acknowledge that what marks the deadly wound of the papacy is that its political authority was taken away from it, its civil structure. But in 1929, at the Lateran Treaty, Mussolini restored legally the political authority of the papacy. And people point repeatedly to the fact that 1929, this is when the deadly wound was healed. What do they refuse to incorporate into that definition? And I don't mean just in a general sense the spirit of prophecy. What is it that the spirit of prophecy contributes to the definition of the healing of the deadly wound that was not accomplished in 1929?
She needs to persecute.
She needs to be able to persecute. Was she able to persecute in 1929? No. Was the Lateran Treaty a restoration of her civil power in the country of Italy? Yes. But her restoration of civil power will be what?
Worldwide.
Worldwide. Okay. So if you're not aware of it, this Lateran Treaty idea is, I think it is a waymark of prophecy, but it is misrepresented. People would put, if they were going to think about what they're doing, they would put the Lateran Treaty as typifying 538. She's in power now. In 538, she's got the world under her control. So her deadly wound, she loses her political power. 1929, at the Lateran Treaty, she's got her political power back. You're at 538. Okay, that's the logic, even if they don't express it like that. But what does the real history of 538 tell us?
533.
That it's 533 would have been 1929. Justinian gives him the authority, but he does not have the ability, the papacy does not have the ability to spill blood until the Goths are driven out of Rome in 538. Okay, so it's just a Lateran Treaty, I think, is part of prophetic history, but they put it in the wrong place, and we're not to move the waymarks.
And in 1929, she didn't overcome 3 obstacles
Yeah,
at that time.
that's part of it too.
Wouldn't you remember it though?
No, it's not kind of it.
It's true.
It's a misapplication. If you understand those people that teach the deadly wound was healed in 1929 as an error, if you're going to identify it as an error, the error that they're making, in my mind, is they're moving the waymarks. They're saying that this waymark of Justinian's decree in 533 should be placed here rather than where it belongs, and we're not to move the waymarks. Because the restoration of the political authority is a subject. Revelation 13:2, the dragon's going to give him his power, his seat, and his great authority. That returning of the great authority of the papacy at the end of the world is a subject of Bible prophecy, but it's been typified in the past by 533. The staff hand back there? Go ahead.
Back to the wondering with John, I was thinking, could it be that John in a vision represents God's people at the end of the world, right? And when he's wondering at the beast and then he gets rebuked by the angel, could it be that he gets rebuked because God's people at the end of the world should already know this mystery, everything what was revealed about it, but we don't, and we have to relearn everything?
We're really going to have to deal with this, huh? Okay, let's go.
Sorry.
Where is he rebuked?
I don't think he's rebuked.
What verse are you saying, you and Tyler are claiming that he's rebuked at?
7.
Verse 7. And what does it say?
Wherefore didst thou marvel?
Like, why are you doing this? Like,
Why are you confused?
yeah, you should already know, right? Like, we should already know since we have the past history from...
I don't think so. I think the angel is saying, you've just seen this woman riding the beast. You're wondering, it's like at the end, it's in verse 15 of Daniel 8. He wanted to understand the Hazon vision, okay? John's here, he's just seen this vision. He's marveling. What does this mean? And he says, what are you thinking about? I'm going to explain it to you now.
Yeah.
I will show you what the mystery of the woman and the beast is. And we're placing an undue emphasis in here, I think. Staff.
Here's the statement. There were wheels with
Staff
wheels
hands.
in an arrangement so complicated that at first sight they appeared to Ezekiel to be in confusion. So the way that I'm understanding this is that line upon line, when you bring these testimonies together, you can read it that there were this woman sitting upon the beast was so complicated an arrangement that at first sight John was confused. And the angel said, don't be confused, let me explain it to you. That's how I'm reading this passage. And it concurs perfectly with what Ezekiel is saying.
Okay, I seen staff hand, and student hand. So we're going to go with student hands, and we're going to go girls first. Sister Allison.
So coming back to the mysteries, which your explanation was earlier with what Brother Michael said. The woman is riding on the beast. The beast is the papacy. So it's the papacy riding on the papacy. And that's a mystery that we have to comprehend.
Yeah, how does a horse ride up on a horse?
It can't. It doesn't. But this does.
Yeah, this is explaining something about the papacy as a woman. She's a woman in this history, but she's going to become a beast here again. This is the healing of the deadly wound.
And the angel is explaining it to John.
What prophetic authority would you have to draw that conclusion? Anyone want to answer that for her? What? What biblical authority does Sister Allison have for drawing the conclusion that she just suggested?
What's her conclusion?
That the beast is the papacy and the woman is the papacy.
So
And
both have more than one meaning?
and they both have more than one meaning. I don't know. Yeah, that's true, but that isn't my point.
Revelation 13, the beast.
I'll tell you. I'll answer my question because I'm losing even what she said now well enough to articulate it. But I knew it when I started.
Isn't the answer number 7, verse 7 though?
What is
when the angel is explaining it to John, I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and the beast that carries her, which has the 7 heads and the 10 horns.
Okay, so and then what does he do? He says, I'm going to tell you. You're looking at this vision you just had of a woman riding on the beast in the previous verses, and you're kind of overwhelmed, just like Daniel was in verse 15 of Daniel 8. John is wanting to understand what this means, and the angel says, you're marveling about it, but I'll show you the mystery. What's the first thing he does? He defines the beast. Okay, he defines the beast, and then where's he going to go after that? We haven't got there yet. He's going to go to here. 5 have fallen, one is yet to come, and the 8th is of the 7. Okay, he's going to define this mystery by here, and he tells you what the beast is. And so, what is her justification in her comment of saying that the fact that the woman is the papacy and the beast is the papacy, that it has something to do with the restoration of her power? She didn't say it that way, but I am. And what her justification for making that contention is what? It's Daniel 11:40-45 and Revelation 13. They possess the identical structure as Revelation 17, and the subject in each of these passages is the restoration of the papacy's political power, the healing of the deadly wound. When you see that these 3 lines that are talking about the beast, the false prophet, and the dragon are telling us how the papacy's deadly wound is healed, in Daniel 11:40-45 it's telling you it has to conquer 3 entities before it's restored. Revelation 13 says it's the United States that's going to force the world to accept this arrangement of the United Nations and the papacy. So you've got those 2 witnesses saying that you can take this mystery and define it as a mystery that's telling us how the deadly wound is healed, how this woman, as the papacy, is going to control the political structure of planet Earth here by riding upon it, as she's rode upon all the other beasts through history. And I'm sorry, you got to look at it to understand it. And you're not encouraged to look at it if it's sin. The Bible doesn't say go ahead and consider this, but for so doing, you're going to be lost. Brother Kolef.
I was going to comment on verse 7 where it says, "And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery." In my margin I've got hidden truth. Because the angel came down, could it be some hidden manner thing going on? Wherefore he's in a sense required to understand. But I know, but you're describing it as a mystery that sort of, or Michael, that is just a wonder that sort of can't be understood. So I'm tending to sway towards what Tamina and...
Well, you're swaying the wrong way, but I'm not saying it can't be understood. Is that what I said?
No.
No, it isn't what I said. What did I say?
The parts that are revealed, you have to understand.
Every part that's revealed, you're required to understand. Okay, yeah. But it is so profound because it's a biblical mystery. It's not a TV show, that there are aspects of it. You can't explain how... Maybe you can explain how a horse could ride up on a horse, but you can't explain to me how a horse can ride upon itself. Okay, it's beyond explanation. The only way you can really understand it is if you understand that this is prophetic language and that every symbol has more than one meaning, and you have to put them in context. This is the story about the healing of the deadly wound.
You know, in Daniel 7, there's heads and there's a horn, and one of the horns has a mouth
speaking great things.
Yeah, so one of them horns is a head. So there's a head on top of a head, or on top of a bunch of heads. So that could potentially be what's happening here.
No, it is what's happening here, if I'm understanding you correctly. Is there are several prophetic characteristics that at first glance, as Michael's quoting about the wheels and wheels, seems to be all confusion. Okay? But the angel comes down and clarifies it. I didn't follow the part you said about the hidden manna, but there's definitely an angel here. We didn't get to the riddle. We'll get to that tomorrow. Any other comments? We got a few minutes. Comments, questions? Okay. Student, Brother Henry.
I just was kind of taking a look, because we're taking a look at the healing of the beast, and then we also have the message that is thereafter. So does that mean that, when is it, I should rather ask, is it that God's people are really understanding that of the healing of the beast? Is it during the time when the beast is being healed, or is it after the beast is already begun to be healed?
No, what I think I understand your question is, I'm saying that the message is marked here in order, and the close of probation is marked here in order to let us see that the same structure, grammatical structure or historical structures in each of these three chapters. But to address your question about location of the message, I can't warn you to get out of the way of that truck if I don't see the truck first. And God's people that are going to give this message, they're going to give a message that warns the world that the papacy is about to take the world captive. Therefore, they're required long before probation closes to understand these things. But this message is marked as a waymark in terms of establishing the structure that allows you to tie these three chapters together. Okay.
Right. But I'm just kind of thinking here, the message that is primarily to be given, that is towards others, you know, like the world, right? And so for God's people, then their understanding of it then would have to be prior to that,
yes,
during the time of the healing.
Prior to the healing.
Prior to the healing?
Prior to the healing.
Because, I mean, according to what we had seen here, the healing, like we had talked about, was like 533.
Nope, this is the healing.
But that's...
This is one step in the healing.
One step of the healing, so it's progressive.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So the healing has already begun.
Yep.
But then God's people are starting to understand that.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is the healing is prior or beginning prior to actually.
When did God's people begin to understand it? At one level, in 1845. Okay, when they began to understand that the third angel includes the warning against Sunday sacredness and Sabbath. Okay, but Adventism went wandering in the wilderness. Okay, and the end of Adventism is going to repeat the beginning of Adventism. So when is it that modern Adventism begins to understand this?
I thought the understanding of Sabbath didn't come in 1946.
Well, until 1946?
1846.
Okay, 1846.
Repeat your question, please.
I'll just answer it. We began to understand it in 1989 when the books of Daniel were unsealed, and the first primary thing that was marked from that understanding of Daniel 11:45 is that verse 41 was identifying a Sunday law in the United States. So this message becomes the warning to Adventism that you either get ready and participate in this work, or you're going to come to the Sunday law and your probation is going to close and you're going to be lost. So we have been required to understand these truths since 1989, and it's based upon the opening up of Daniel 11 verse 40. That's why I was saying in Daniel 11 verse 40, you have the king of the south, which is the dragon, you have the chariots and ships and horsemen, which is the false prophet, and you've got the king of the north, which is the beast. What was opened up in verse 40 in 1989 was the story about how these three powers lead the world to Armageddon, and from that point on, this has been the message of warning that is to go to the world. So whether Laodicean Adventists will recognize it and proclaim it, that's a whole different discussion. But we're supposed to understand these things well in advance, or it's not really a warning. We got to stop. I know there was a couple hands, but Brother Marco, you want to pray?
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this morning class and the possibility to repeat and enlarge upon Revelation 17. The light that you are giving us is advancing and shining more clearly. We have been touching these topics many years ago, but the lines of prophecy confirm what we understood, not as firm as now, but it was true and it was correct how you guided us. We praise you. Help us that we can share these understandings and we fulfill the role that you're expecting us to take. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.